I still remember the exact moment everything changed. Not the slow unraveling that came after, not the treatments or the transformations. Just that single heartbeat when Linda walked back into the room holding those stockings, and something deep inside me recognized what was about to happen before my conscious mind could catch up. Linda, you look absolutely stunning in that skirt and heels. Do you like them? Oh, I adore them. Although I must confess, I have never been particularly fond of having to reach up on my toes to kiss you when I am barefoot and you are in your beloved pumps. Her words hung in the air between us. I had heard her complain about our height difference before, but something in her tone tonight felt different, deliberate, calculated. Is that so? Well, we can certainly remedy that situation. My pulse quickened. Remedy it how, exactly? Sit down and remove your clothes, Shorty. I will return in just a moment. Do not rub it in, Linda. Just proceed, will you? Fine, I am doing it. I stripped down, feeling oddly vulnerable and strangely exhilarated. The anticipation coiled tight in my stomach. What was she planning? She returned carrying something delicate draped over her arm. My breath caught. Now what? Now, carefully roll these thigh-high stockings and draw them up your legs. Slowly. Feel every sensation as they glide against your skin. My hands trembled slightly as I obeyed. The feeling was electric, awakening nerve endings I never knew existed. Now the left leg. Beautifully done. Now put these on. Linda, these are your shoes. These are elegant, feminine spiked pumps. My absolute favorites. And they fit. Perfectly. I do not understand. I know, darling. It is precisely because I know they are your favorites that I want you to have a pair of your own. Actually, I anticipated this day might arrive and purchase them in your size. They belong to you now. She smiled knowingly at the obvious evidence of my arousal. Come up here to my height, darling. I'm uncertain about this, Linda. Well, I'm certainly not getting any shorter, and I absolutely adore high heels. You are simply going to have to rise to my level or continue living in frustration. Do you want us to be equals or not? Stand up. Oh, very well, but I am going to feel utterly ridiculous and probably tumble flat on my face. And as far as equals goes, men have never truly been equal to women. We simply refuse to acknowledge it. I am pleased you recognize that truth, but no matter. I will teach you. What, to actually walk in these contraptions like a woman? I am always going to be taller than you when we stand together, Arthur, because I never take off my heels, even though we are precisely the same height in bare feet. I'm devoted to my pretty pumps, high-heeled or otherwise. I simply adore classically beautiful shoes, even flats. Nothing else can make a woman's feet appear so alluring and feminine. I certainly do not mind if your feet become alluring. And yes, of course, darling, I will instruct you. We are both 5 feet 6 inches. If you desire to stand as an equal to a woman who adores high heels, you must learn to embrace them yourself. Do I make my point clearly? I believe I have just transformed into a shoe fetishist. Remarkable! I can actually stand in these. They are not nearly as terrible as I imagined. Almost comfortable even. Of course you can stand. You will walk beautifully too. 3 inches is not particularly challenging. If you were a genuine shoe fetishist, you would be standing there in 5-inch heels. You will learn to cherish them as deeply as I do. Small, delicate steps, naturally. 1 foot directly in front of the other. Now come here, wench, and kiss me. Stop that immediately, Linda. It is merely the shoes, remember? I am not a wench. Yes, and the stockings, too. Who can predict what comes next? Allow me to run my hand along your calf. Does that not feel divine? Oh, it does. Damn. You are genuinely arousing me. Wonderful. How about returning the favor? Slip into this full slip and allow me to run my hands across every inch of that sensuous body of yours. Then I will take you to bed, stockings, heels, and all. What do you say? She handed me the slip, and it slithered down my body, sending tingles cascading across my skin. The fabric did not pause at the curves I lacked. I did manage to create quite a tent in the front, however. Here I stood, draped in a slip, encased in stockings, elevated by heels, and absolutely intoxicated by the sensation. Strange, undeniably, yet impossibly sensual. If I did not get her into bed immediately, I would need to retreat to the bathroom in desperate haste. Just then, Linda began stroking me, while simultaneously teasing my nipples. My head grew light, my knees weakened. She guided me to the bed, where she relieved my mounting tension far too swiftly. I proved utterly pathetic as a lover that evening. Here, Audrey, put on this robe and let us watch some television. Audrey? Here, slip into this stretch satin brief. Very well, but you have made little Arthur completely vanish. So, either keep the slip on or change into a nightgown. Leave the stockings and heels in place and come downstairs. Please, since you asked so sweetly. Making love with Linda while wearing stockings and heels had proven a genuine revelation. I harbored deeply conflicting emotions about the entire experience, yet it felt so deliciously forbidden. The intensity of my pleasure had startled me. I selected a peignoir set from her collection. The gossamer fabric brushing against my nylons sent fresh waves of sensation through me. She experiences this exquisite feeling constantly, I realized. That hardly seems fair. I am genuinely envious. Have I lost my mind? I nearly broke my neck descending the staircase. Thank heaven for the railing. Linda adored sexy shoes, and apparently, I would need to adore them as well. On my own feet. How terrible could that truly be? Very well, now that I have you positioned where you will not kill yourself, allow me to demonstrate proper walking technique. She walked with practiced elegance. I studied her every movement intently. Then I walked. She laughed warmly at my clumsy attempts. She walked again, demonstrating the graceful motion. I studied her movements with intense concentration. I walked again, attempting to mirror her elegance. She encouraged me to loosen up. Let your hips move freely. Allow your pelvis to sway gently from side to side. Your spine functions as a pivot joint. Permit it to pivot naturally. Place one foot directly in front of the other. Slow and sensuous. Better. Continue practicing. Think to yourself, I am a woman. You are a woman in devastatingly sexy high heels. Forget about Arthur entirely. You are Audrey now. Loosen up and embrace it. Enjoy your femininity. You adore high heels and the way they make you feel so incredibly alluring. Now that is significantly better. You want men walking into telephone poles while watching you pass by. Men? Watching me? I am absolutely not walking out of this house in high heels. Absolutely not. Linda ignored my protests entirely. You are mastering this beautifully, Audrey, honey. Just a few more passes across the room for tonight. Very good. That is my girl. I am genuinely proud of you. Sit down here beside me, pet, and let us enjoy some intimate time together. She did not need to ask me twice. I suppose being precisely the same size as your wife can present both advantages and disadvantages. The realization made me wonder why she had chosen a man of equal stature in the first place. The shoes fit with remarkable perfection, and I could scarcely believe how comfortable they felt. I had heard countless horror stories about high heels throughout my life. Mere rumors, I now suspected, probably engineered to prevent more men from discovering how magnificent they made your feet appear and feel, and how intoxicating it felt to master walking in them. 3 inches proved far less challenging than anticipated. If I simply lost approximately 6 inches around my waist and developed a couple of generous curves, we truly would become identical in every way. You are getting considerably ahead of yourself. Settle down, Audrey. Calm your racing thoughts. Linda? Yes, darling? Why did you never mention that all these things felt so wonderfully sensuous? To speak honestly, Audrey, it simply never occurred to me. Women take these pleasures entirely for granted. However, I can clearly perceive that you genuinely enjoy these sensations, so let me clarify something right now. I have no objection whatsoever to you having sexy, feminine feet. I find you appealing this way. If the rest of it brings you pleasure as well, Do whatever you desire. Experiment freely. Raid my closet without hesitation. Discover this hidden side of yourself. We all possess both masculine and feminine aspects within us. One simply becomes suppressed over time. Release Audrey if you wish. Makeup, hairstyling, manicured nails, pierced ears. I genuinely do not mind any of it. I love you, Audrey, whoever you ultimately become. It is the person I cherish, not the external trappings. Have I expressed myself clearly? Develop breasts if you choose. I truly do not care. Well, actually, that particular notion holds a certain charming appeal for me personally, but the decision belongs entirely to you. Wow, Linda. This is far too much for me to process in a single evening. I'm taking my swivel-hipped, high-heeled, nylon-encased body to bed. I will see you in the morning, sweetheart. Good night, Audrey. I love you deeply. Linda remained downstairs, contemplating the evening's revelations. This entire situation had materialized from absolutely nowhere, yet she found herself able to envision him as a woman. She genuinely would not mind at all. Was she becoming strange, or had she always harbored these desires? Later, slipping beneath the covers, Linda discovered her sleeping princess still wore her stockings and satin panties beneath her nightgown. The only items she had removed were her heels. How cherubic she would appear, with delicately arched eyebrows and a touch of lipstick, Linda thought admiringly. Linda, I believe my ankles and calves are somewhat sore from last night's practice. Oh, I am terribly sorry, honey. We can remedy that discomfort for you. They simply require relaxation and gentle loosening. Your hamstrings need slight strengthening as well. Do you remember that specialist I visited who cured my chronic backaches? I am confident he can assist you. Allow me to telephone him. Linda retreated to the office to place the call. Apparently, she did not have the number readily available elsewhere. Dr. Vance? Yes, this sounds like Mrs. Miller. You possess an excellent ear, Dr. Vance. We have a small situation that we hope you can address. My husband needs to be able to point his foot more directly in line with his leg and is experiencing some discomfort from the attempt. It sounds as though he wishes to wear high-heeled shoes. Yes, that is correct. Additionally, you are familiar with the ancient texts and their methods. Well, my husband has decided that he would like to fully experience the feminine side of his personality, as well as his physical form. Is there anything you can do to place him in a more feminine frame of mind while simultaneously stimulating his mammary glands toward full maturity? Perhaps achieving a full C cup? A most unusual request, Mrs. Miller, but yes, I am capable of accomplishing these things. His breasts will begin developing immediately. I have successfully brought many women to full lactation as well. After 10 treatments, your husband will no longer identify as male. He will completely and authentically experience his femininity. His bosom will achieve full female development after 10 treatments and will continue maturing naturally thereafter. However, his maleness will have virtually vanished in both mind and body by that point. If he desires, I can stimulate additional areas as well. His knees, buttocks, and thighs can fill in with soft feminine contours. His muscle mass will soften and diminish considerably. He will become wonderfully rounded throughout his entire figure. Yes, Dr. Vance, he would absolutely cherish that experience. Very well. However, I must inform you of a rather serious consequence of this therapy. His maleness will atrophy completely. In fact, it will revert to a more neutral state. The therapy will stimulate him continuously, even during the intervals when the needles are not inserted. Therefore, by the 10th treatment, or perhaps even sooner, you will want to bring him dressed as a woman, because he will experience considerable difficulty presenting as male, both mentally and physically. We will essentially replace his yang with his yin. His soul will possess no appreciation for maleness whatsoever, except that she will find herself attracted to it precisely as you are. This transformation could present certain difficulties for you in the future. Consider this carefully. We have considered it thoroughly, Dr. Vance. This is precisely what Arthur desires. To experience authentic femininity, the other half of his psyche. Through this process, he can achieve the balance he has always sought. Very well, Mrs. Miller. Bring him on Tuesday at 12 o'clock noon. The first treatment will require 2 hours. Subsequent sessions will last 1 hour each. My fee is $75 per hour. Is that acceptable? Yes. We will see you then. Oh, Dr. Vance, there is no need to mention the breast development. He remains sensitive about desiring that particular outcome. Very good, Mrs. Miller. Audrey, would you permit me to give you a lovely manicure this evening? Certainly, honey. Why not? Linda commenced with a thorough feminine pedicure, complete with polish in a delicate shade. No complaints emerged from me whatsoever. Those will look absolutely darling in my sandals, Linda. Next came the hands. Your nails have grown rather long for a man, Audrey. Well, please shape them properly for me. I certainly shall. She proceeded to shape and file each nail with meticulous care, pushing back the cuticles, applying strengthening hardener, followed by base coat and glossy top coat. She maintained their existing length throughout. They emerged beautiful, clear, shining, and absolutely feminine in appearance. Finally, I examined my transformed nails. Oh, how pretty they are. Thank you, honey. That was my only response. Linda found it rather amazing. The appointed day and time arrived. Good afternoon, Dr. Vance. I understand you can relieve the persistent tension in my ankles and calves. Oh yes, Mr. Miller, and we shall make other necessary adjustments to assist you as well. Please remove all clothing down to the skin and recline upon the table. After we have positioned all the needles properly, I shall cover you. This procedure will not cause pain. Simply relax completely. Dr. Vance then proceeded to place what seemed like 1,000 needles throughout my body. He commenced with my ankles and worked methodically up my legs, pausing at the knees and inner thighs, placing quite a concentration at my groin. Then he advanced to my hips, waist, and lateral obliques, followed by my chest and deltoids. Finally, he began work on my face, inserting a couple of needles in my neck, then my cheekbones, and even my lips. He had spoken truthfully. I felt absolutely nothing. I observed the needles quivering ever so slightly, but that was all. He drew a light sheet over my body and suggested I rest. I managed to drift into sleep for approximately 45 minutes and awakened feeling remarkably refreshed. How do you feel now, Mr. Miller? Exceptionally well, Dr. Vance. Thank you sincerely. My ankles do indeed feel considerably more relaxed. Oh, you will observe tremendous progress over the next 9 treatments, Mr. Miller. You will be extremely pleased, I believe. The therapy will continue working even during intervals without needles inserted. I maintain evening appointments, if that would prove more convenient. How does 6 in the evening sound? That works perfectly. I can schedule you for Fridays. I shall see you then, Dr. Vance. Linda, that elderly gentleman truly possesses remarkable expertise. I feel absolutely wonderful, and my ankles and calves have improved dramatically. Excellent, honey. We shall test them thoroughly when we arrive home. Did you notice that your voice just cracked? Yes, how peculiar. Somehow, I simply knew you would mention that. The changes did not manifest immediately, but after approximately 4 days, my skin began itching across my entire body. My chest developed a peculiar sensation, and my manhood experienced a certain tightness I cannot adequately describe. Nevertheless, I felt remarkably well and surprisingly at ease. I also detected a subtle mental shift occurring. Perhaps some internal barrier was dissolving. I cannot explain it precisely. I simply felt less inhibited and considerably more expressive quite suddenly. Audrey, you really ought to remove that excess hair from your body. Do you not agree? Would you mind eliminating it while you shower? I noticed it through my stockings as well, Linda. Yes, I shall take care of it immediately. I recognize it does not look appropriate with my pretty shoes and stockings. I examined myself in the mirror after emerging from the bath. Aside from now being completely hairless across my entire body, something else had changed. I could not identify what it was until I slipped into my peignoir. My nipples were absolutely on fire, and simultaneously, my skin tingled everywhere. They desperately longed for cooling saliva or perhaps an ice cube. Linda would certainly assist me with that situation. Saliva would prove far more enjoyable. I drew on my stockings and stepped into my heels, then made an attempt at applying makeup. Why was I putting on makeup? What in the world had possessed me to reach for cosmetics? This entire situation had originated simply from wanting to grow accustomed to high heels, had it not? Well, I did not appear ridiculous, and the urge proved absolutely overwhelming, so I proceeded. I merely required additional practice, and perhaps these particular shades did not complement my complexion ideally. Linda would assist me there as well. But why was I even contemplating asking for assistance with my makeup? I was not supposed to wear makeup, was I? I supposed if I intended to present as a woman at home for Linda, I might as well execute it properly. But this had all begun solely about the shoes, Audrey. Remember? Just then, an unmistakably feminine impulse seized hold of me, and I began applying makeup with whatever skill my novice fingers would permit. And all of this had commenced with mere frustration about her height advantage. Now I found myself fretting about whether I had selected the appropriate shade of lipstick. Remarkable. I walked, rather gracefully and confidently this time, into the kitchen where Linda was preparing us a light snack. She still wore her spiked heels as well, along with a pretty dress adorned with a frilly apron. "Hello, Audrey. You arrived just in time. Sit down and tell me how your heels feel now." You know, I had not even considered that question. But observe how relaxed my foot appears. Precisely like yours, honey. The heels feel considerably more comfortable today as well. You are simply growing accustomed to them, dear. The first time you receive a whistle from an admirer, you will develop a genuine appreciation for what heels accomplish for a woman's legs. Oh, absolutely not, Linda. You are not getting me outside this house in heels. Absolutely not. I informed you of that previously. And what exactly do you mean by a woman's legs? It had not occurred to me how I would necessarily need to dress in order to leave the house wearing heels. I had naively envisioned myself departing in my usual slacks, but with spikes on my feet. No, no, that notion was utterly absurd. Only a woman might attempt such a combination. Several weeks and 4 additional treatments passed before. Instead of the peignoir set, Audrey descended the stairs dressed appropriately for the street. She wore complete lingerie, including a bra, garter belt, and stockings, complemented by a lovely blue shirtwaist dress with navy blue patent leather spikes. By this point, she had mastered walking with a seductive swing, sitting gracefully and rising elegantly. She could even stoop and retrieve something from the floor, using that distinctive feminine knee bend. Her deportment had become thoroughly feminine, and her makeup skills continued improving. She was discovering her ideal color palette and appeared rather attractive, becoming genuinely quite pretty, actually. Audrey, you look absolutely wonderful. How do you feel? Well, except for my chest and my hips, I suppose I feel fine. What troubles you about your chest? I suppose it depends on one's viewpoint, and I do mean point. Here, permit me to unfasten the top buttons and show you. Honey, are those actually yours? Yes, and they are unbearably sensitive. I hope you will help cool them for me in bed again tonight. What is this? Some manner of curse? Whoever dons the high-heeled shoe shall also possess a bosom too? No, darling. Dr. Vance and I wanted you to become completely comfortable with my little fetish for high heels, so he is simply helping you adjust. That is all. You feel well otherwise? Absolutely wonderful. But do you not think I am behaving remarkably feminine quite suddenly? I mean, this all began merely about shoes. Now look at me. It must be your imagination, honey. You are behaving perfectly fine for a woman. Simply continue your sessions, and very soon you will feel entirely at ease. Trust me. Oh, I feel genuinely wonderful, Linda, and so comfortable too. I absolutely adore this dress. It feels divine against my skin. After week 6, I stepped from the shower that evening and examined my body with careful attention. Pretty feet with toes painted in a misty mauve shade. Thin ankles leading gracefully to shapely calves and smooth knees. Thighs full to the very top and pressed close together, actually rubbing against one another when I walked. Hips generous and curved, waist narrow and defined, bosom growing what seemed like a centimeter every hour. Soft, rounded shoulders tapering to a slender neck. My Adam's apple had nearly vanished entirely, and so had the face of Arthur, replaced by that of this cute, attractive hybrid person named Audrey. My lips had grown fuller and invitingly pouty, especially when enhanced with lipstick. My cheekbones appeared higher and more defined, my nose slightly smaller and perfectly straight. Oh my goodness! No one could possibly convince anyone this was a man. How in the world had I arrived at this point? And more puzzling still, why was I enjoying it so tremendously? I found I no longer cared about Arthur at all, except in relation to Linda. Yes, and I deliberately skipped over the most troubling transformation. Just examine that area. It appeared I was shrinking dramatically down there. The situation had become rather pitiful. I would need to acquire a really nice, lifelike appliance for poor Linda. One of those wonderful ones that felt authentic. Linda contemplated the situation privately. She believed bringing Audrey up to her level may have originated from somewhat perverse motivations, but she could observe that Audrey was blossoming into her own distinct person. Poor Arthur. Fortunately, they owned that Florida orchard and leased 2 additional properties. Nobody would give him any difficulty, or he could simply terminate their employment. The juice processing plant purchased everything they could produce so they would remain financially secure as long as canker disease or Mediterranean fruit flies did not devastate their crops again. Well, just another 4 treatments remained, and Arthur would become history, replaced entirely by the lovely Audrey. Linda genuinely enjoyed spending time with her and making love to her. They needed to take her shopping, though. Linda would prefer to wear her own clothing again. Yes, the time had arrived to introduce her to the outside world, because she was already experiencing difficulty passing as Arthur. Linda wondered how Dr. Vance had stimulated all that remarkable hair growth. Audrey seemed to possess a thoroughly feminine voice and persona now. Audrey appeared aroused constantly, and who knew where Arthur had retreated to? Linda wondered what his orchard workers might think. Audrey, let us go shopping this evening. You never address me as Arthur anymore, Linda. I apologize, honey. Seeing Arthur in you has become nearly impossible these days. You have simply become too adorable. Thank you, sweetie. May I wear what I currently have on? That will suit perfectly, honey. 15 minutes? Agreed. And so we ventured to the mall for suits and better quality blouses and several pairs of shoes. Then we visited the earring booth, where a technician inserted a set of pretty studs through her earlobes. Afterward, we explored the department store for cosmetics and additional pierced earrings for Audrey. The boutique was one establishment we both wished to visit, and she selected some genuinely enticing items, undoubtedly intending to tease Linda with them. Linda noticed with amazement that Audrey now filled a full B cup, and her areolas had expanded remarkably. 2 could certainly play that teasing game, sweetheart. Linda purchased her a push-up C cup because she recognized Audrey was still developing and wondered if and when she might begin lactating. That would prove genuinely entertaining, and Audrey would beg Linda to help relieve the pressure. It would be Linda's distinct pleasure to suckle her dry. Then her breasts would assume a fully mature appearance. Linda wondered if Arthur had even contemplated attempting to return. She would need to inquire after Dr. Vance completed the treatments. Audrey seemed to have assumed complete control already. Linda? Yes, honey? I have only 2 visits remaining. I'm experiencing tremendous difficulty remembering what existing as Arthur felt like. And I am leaking. Can I install new washers in these, or what exactly should I do? What is happening to me? Are you experiencing an anxiety attack? No. It is simply that I feel as though I enjoy all of this just as much as you do now. My body has executed a complete reversal. I could not convince my own mother I was Arthur with this body. And my mind, it has transformed as well. I no longer seem to possess any control over these feelings of femininity and femaleness, and I have developed this overwhelming desire to nurse a baby. I do not call you Shorty anymore, do I? You cannot possibly. I'm as tall as you now, and perhaps even as pretty, so there. I stuck my tongue out at her in that childish gesture we used to exchange, and giggled in my new feminine voice. Spiteful little wench. I should carry you to bed and spank you thoroughly. Go ahead. I have a little surprise waiting for you as well. Very well, Audrey. Let us proceed. You are still not quite as pretty as I am, and you receive your spanking first, immediately after I help you with your leakage situation. Oh, that should prove delightful. Please proceed. Very well. Then I claim my turn. Oh, that really stings. I apologize, darling. It was merely intended to sting slightly. And so Linda helped Audrey with her leakage situation. Not much emerged at first on that initial evening, but Linda switched back and forth between breasts, as a nursing infant would naturally do, and Audrey absolutely adored the sensation. She experienced her first profound inner climax, without a single masculine thought crossing her pretty head. Now, what do you have prepared for me? Oh, wow! That appears so remarkably realistic. Yes, my little flower, and you are going to love it completely. But first, this particular device will work its way right up inside you and drive you absolutely insane with pleasure. I am genuinely jealous. Here we go. Linda inserted it gently and activated it, then reclined and observed with fascination. Audrey clutched her breasts and began moaning softly. It did indeed drive her wild as it worked its way along her intimate passage, and she surrendered to the pleasure completely. Then the helper device and Linda took over together. That, too, proved a climactic experience for both of them. As for me, well, I experienced a very pleasant sensation in my groin when she nibbled on me, and the nipple erections were quite intense. However, I no longer possessed a proper place of release. I merely dribbled from the soft little thing that used to be Arthur's pride and joy. The experience felt more than slightly frustrating, and I remained concerned about my leaking bosom. I would need to acquire a breast pump for work, or I would suffer discomfort throughout the entire day until I could return home to Linda. Well, that concludes it, Linda. The final session. Dr. Vance assured me I would not experience any further trouble, regardless of how high a heel I wished to wear. Of course, for the last 3 visits, I had been attending the appointments instead of Arthur. I understand, dear. You present the picture of a refined young lady in smart clothing and sexy shoes. Arthur has become a historical figure to be preserved on the mantel in a frame, a reminder of the difficult old days before you discovered the joys of femininity. Do you feel any regret? Sorry about being pretty and sexy and having you for my lover? Hardly. I do wonder about all of this happening almost as if by magic once I commenced those leg treatments, though. I simply kept feeling more and more feminine with each passing day, and it felt absolutely wonderful. We should discuss the practical aspects of this situation, though, Audrey. I understand what kind of position you must find yourself in currently. You exist in limbo. You are enjoying your femininity tremendously, but by now you must be experiencing genuinely strong urges about fully becoming female. Perhaps even some fantasies about attractive men? I am certain you miss your orgasms. And your organs. Well, they have certainly changed dramatically. Am I correct? Well, yes. I genuinely do miss certain things, and that thought has crossed my mind. But what about that entire process where you must spend a year living in your identified gender before qualifying for surgery? And what about my position at work? I simply do not know about those matters yet, Audrey, but we shall work them out together. The telephone rang. Dr. Vance? Yes, Mrs. Miller? Does Audrey require any hormone injections or anything of that nature? Oh, no, Mrs. Miller. If you examine carefully, you will discover that the internal organs have undergone significant changes. Her body is now producing sufficient estrogen naturally. The next logical step would involve surgery performed by a reputable surgeon. I understand, Dr. Vance. Thank you for such excellent work. May I refer others to you? Certainly, Mrs. Miller. We exist to serve. Good night. Well, Audrey did not need to take any action regarding the payroll situation. Her employees observed the changes, and with one solitary exception, wisely maintained their silence. She developed a friendly rapport with a handsome young married fellow at work. He too was on the smaller side for a man. Audrey mentioned he seemed remarkably docile, quiet, and submissive even. She wondered if his wife might wish to send him to Dr. Vance for special treatments. Audrey did connect the evidence and determined that it was definitely the treatments that had liberated him. Pardon me, that had liberated her, but she felt no upset whatsoever. On the contrary, she cherished the new person she had become and truly enjoyed, even reveled in her ultimate femininity. Audrey, that sounds like tremendous fun. Have you met his wife? No, but I believe I can arrange a double date for us. Please do that. And so I did, and we enjoyed a lovely evening together, with dinner and a film. Marcus, the nickname his wife had bestowed upon him, which was short for Marky from where he was born, proved to be everything Audrey had described. His wife was definitely the dominant partner in their relationship. She treated him almost as if he were her wife. We returned to their place, and Diana and I retreated into the kitchen for a little private conversation between women. I laid everything out for her, explaining the entire journey, and she was utterly astonished to learn that Audrey used to be my husband. She absolutely loved the idea and telephoned Dr. Vance the very next day, arranging for the complete treatment program for Marcus. He proved an even more perfect candidate than Arthur had been, already possessing such a naturally submissive temperament. He offered her no resistance whatsoever about the treatments, although she did not reveal their true purpose initially. That concealment continued until his femininity began overwhelming him from within. I must confess, Diana took particular pleasure in informing him after the 5th treatment, once he had already begun requesting permission to wear feminine clothing, that he was destined to become a woman, and would prove utterly incapable of preventing it. As was his nature, he submitted without protest. 3 weeks later, you would not have recognized him in the slightest. He was transforming into a remarkably refined young lady. Ancient medicine is extraordinarily powerful, obviously. She had become quite attractive and remained wonderfully submissive, precisely what Diana had always desired. They are getting along better than ever before. Dr. Vance is exceptionally skilled. You should consider consulting him. That conversation occurred nearly 18 months ago now. So much has transformed since that evening in Diana's kitchen, sipping wine and discussing the miraculous possibilities that Dr. Vance's ancient techniques offered to women like ourselves. Audrey completed her surgical journey 6 months after her final acupuncture session. The procedure went flawlessly, performed by a renowned surgeon in Montreal, whom Dr. Vance personally recommended. I accompanied her through every moment of the recovery, holding her hand through the discomfort, celebrating each milestone of healing. When she finally stood before the mirror completely whole, tears streaming down her cheeks, I understood that Arthur had never truly existed at all. He had merely been a chrysalis, a temporary container for the beautiful butterfly who had always waited within. Our intimate life blossomed in ways neither of us had anticipated. Audrey discovered pleasures she had never imagined possible, sensations that rippled through her transformed body like electricity through water. She would clutch the sheets, her manicured nails digging into the fabric, her feminine voice crying out in ecstasies that seemed to originate from the very depths of her soul. Afterward, we would lie tangled together, two women perfectly matched in height, in passion, in understanding. Marcus, now exclusively known as Marcy, underwent her own surgical transformation 3 months after Audrey. Diana reported that Marcy had actually begged for the procedure, desperate to complete her journey into womanhood. The submissive nature that had once made Marcus such a compliant husband had translated perfectly into Marcy's personality. She adored serving Diana, anticipating her every need, existing in a state of perpetual devotion that Diana found absolutely intoxicating. The four of us began spending considerable time together. Friday evenings became our sacred ritual. We would gather at one home or the other, four elegant women in beautiful dresses and stunning heels, sharing wine and laughter and secrets. Occasionally, Diana and I would exchange knowing glances across the room, marveling silently at what we had created together. Our former husbands, now our gorgeous girlfriends, had become everything we had ever secretly desired. Dr. Vance's practice flourished through our enthusiastic referrals. Diana knew a woman named Catherine, whose husband exhibited promising qualities. I encountered a frustrated wife named Elizabeth at a charity luncheon who confided that her husband had always been disappointingly passive. We provided them with Dr. Vance's contact information and watched with satisfaction as their households transformed over the following months. A small community began forming around us. We called ourselves the Sisterhood of the Lotus Needle, a playful reference to Dr. Vance's techniques. Monthly gatherings grew from 4 women to 8, then 12, then 20. Some were original wives like Diana and myself. Others were transformed souls like Audrey and Marcy, women who had discovered their authentic selves through the ancient healing arts. We supported one another through every stage of the journey, celebrating each new sister who emerged from her cocoon. Audrey thrived in ways I had never anticipated. The orchard business expanded under her leadership. She possessed a keen mind for agriculture that Arthur had never fully utilized, perhaps because he had been too distracted by the discomfort of inhabiting the wrong identity. Now, fully herself, Audrey negotiated contracts with confidence, managed employees with grace, and doubled our production within 2 years. She conducted business meetings in impeccably tailored suits and 4-inch heels, her voice melodious and commanding, her presence absolutely magnetic. She also developed an unexpected passion for mentoring newly transformed women. Something about her own journey had awakened a deep compassion within her. She would spend hours with recent graduates of Dr. Vance's program, teaching them the subtle arts of feminine deportment, helping them select wardrobes that flattered their evolving figures, listening patiently to their fears, and celebrating their triumphs. Audrey possessed a gift for making others feel seen and accepted during their most vulnerable moments. One evening, approximately 14 months after Audrey's surgery, we hosted a gathering at our home. The living room overflowed with members of our sisterhood, perhaps 30 women in total, their voices creating a symphony of feminine conversation. I stood near the fireplace, observing the scene with profound satisfaction. Audrey moved through the crowd like a dancer, her crimson dress flowing around her curves, her laughter ringing like crystal bells. She caught my eye across the room and smiled. That particular smile she reserved exclusively for me, the one that still made my heart accelerate after all this time. Later that night, after the final guest had departed and we had kicked off our heels by the front door, Audrey took my hands in hers. Her skin felt impossibly soft, her fingers delicate and warm. "Linda," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Do you remember that first evening, when you handed me those stockings and told me to put them on? I remember everything, darling. I was so frightened, so confused. I had no idea what was happening to me or where it would lead. And now? Now I cannot imagine existing any other way. You saw something in me that I could not perceive in myself. You recognized the woman trapped inside that uncomfortable masculine shell. You liberated her. We liberated her together," I corrected gently. "Dr. Vance provided the method, but you possessed the courage to embrace the transformation." Audrey's eyes glistened with moisture. She leaned forward and pressed her lips against mine, a kiss of gratitude and passion and absolute devotion. When we finally separated, she rested her forehead against mine. "I want to help more women discover themselves," she whispered. not just the transformed ones. All women. I want to open a retreat center where women can explore their authentic identities, whatever form that takes. Will you help me build it? I traced my finger along her jawline, that beautiful feminine jawline that Dr. Vance's needles had so artfully sculpted. Of course I will help you, my love. We shall create something magnificent together. And we did. The Lotus Retreat opened 18 months later on a picturesque property adjacent to our expanded orchard. Women arrived from across the country, seeking transformation of every variety. Some departed with new wardrobes and renewed confidence. Others embarked on journeys similar to Audrey's, guided by Dr. Vance's ancient wisdom. All of them left forever changed, having discovered truths about themselves they had previously been too frightened to acknowledge. Dr. Vance visited the retreat regularly, his ancient eyes twinkling with satisfaction at what his techniques had accomplished. He trained several apprentices to continue his work, ensuring that his knowledge would persist long after he departed this world. The sisterhood continued expanding, a secret network of women bound together by shared experiences and mutual support. As for Audrey and myself, we celebrated our love every single day. We walked through the orange groves hand in hand, two women of identical height in matching heels, the Florida sunshine warming our skin. We made love with an intimacy that seemed to deepen endlessly, discovering new pleasures in bodies that fit together perfectly. We built a life of abundance and purpose and profound connection. Sometimes, late at night, I would watch Audrey sleeping beside me, her chest rising and falling gently, her beautiful face peaceful in repose. I would remember that frustrated man who used to strain upward to kiss me when I wore my heels, and he stood barefoot, who resented my beloved high heels, who seemed perpetually uncomfortable in his own skin. That man had vanished completely, replaced by this magnificent woman who radiated confidence and sensuality and joy. All because I had handed her a pair of stockings and a pair of heels and said, "Come up here to my height, darling." The journey had begun with something as simple as shoes. It had led to a complete transformation, not just of one person, but of dozens, eventually hundreds. Ancient medicine combined with modern courage had unlocked possibilities that most people never dared imagine. If you find yourself frustrated, feeling as though something fundamental about your life remains unfulfilled, perhaps you should consider consulting Dr. Vance. His methods are unconventional, his results are extraordinary, and somewhere inside you, there may be a woman waiting desperately to emerge. You should try him. You really should.